Hello everybody, Richard Michael Owen here at Owen Automotive, and today we have one of the most exciting cars that's ever arrived at the shop. This is a 1950 Jaguar XK120 Alloy, serial number 53. Yeah, it's the 53rd XK ever made. How sweet is that? And this car comes to us from the Michael Woodward collection. There's a video I did in the past called the 3 XKs in the barn, or XK120s in the barn. If you want to see where this car came from, definitely have a look there. This is a really special car. It's been sitting for 31 years, and I'm tasked with partially assembling it so it can be ready for public sale. And yeah, it's really a sight to behold. It's really wonderful. What we're looking at here is an all aluminum body. Only about the first 200 or so XK120s came with an aluminum body, all aluminum. And from what I can see, I think this car is all original and with respect to the bodywork. So what I'm gonna do over the next little while, the next 3 weeks, is really evaluate what we have here for the next potential purchaser and try to assemble it so it looks like a more complete car ready for sale. And yeah, that's gonna include a lot of things that are missing. So we're gonna go over this car in a lot of detail. So yeah, really excited about this one. Let's get into it. So before we deep dive into this Alloy XK120, I wanted to go into its history, how it became partially disassembled, why it was stored for 39 years, and why it's at our shop now after all this time. And the story begins when Michael Woodward, my friend, purchased it in 1981 from a Mr. Jelvik, who lived, I think, down in Washington. And lucky for us, Michael labeled every single box that came with the car, so there's lots of parts in boxes ready to go back on this Alloy XK120 that originally came with it. One aspect of the car that really appealed to Michael was the hand crank starter tool. What it does is it passes through the radiator and engages on the dogs on the crankshaft damper so you can start the car by hand. And Michael tells me that only the first 58 cars came equipped like this. So since the video where we shared the car with the world as it sat without touching it, there's been a lot of interest in it. We had a lot of great people come and see it. One of them was Michael May. He started XKs Unlimited. He is an absolute expert in the field, and he really proved that when he came up. He showed us an original door panel that came off one of his cars, untouched original, so you can see the way the trimming was laid out, and he was letting us copy it for this car. And he also went through some of the boxes and showed us all the original lights and clips and hinges that are very particular to these aluminum cars, so that was really helpful. Just yesterday, we were tasked with getting the Alloy XK120 out of the barn, kind of divorcing it from the two cars it sat next to, really tight spot in there, and getting it down here to the shop. And since it's been sitting for 39 years, we had to free the shoes from the drums. We had to put some proper tires on the front, wheel dollies on the back, and it just barely squeezed out. We towed it out with the wife's Jetta and got it on the car hauler. And here it is now, back in Owen Automotive. Okay, let's start with the numbers. Everybody likes the numbers. We're looking at the chassis tag. This has to be the original chassis tag. It just shows all the age and all the right hallmarks of an old tag. So at the top, chassis number 670053. I'll show you the front of the chassis. Just go in there. You can see just faintly the number stamped on the chassis, so that's matching. Engine number W1095-8. Well, down near the oil filter, the housing there, we can see the original block is with this car, so that's matching. Really sweet. Here we have body number F1076, and then over on the driver's side of the engine bay there, just cleared it up. And what do you know, F1076, that's matching numbers. Last but not least, we have the gearbox JH731, and on top of the gearbox stamped, what do we see? JH731. So we got all our ducks in a row. This is a completely matching numbers car. And as far as I'm concerned, that's pretty much enough to really sell this car. But we're gonna go in extreme detail. We're gonna look at every part of this car. We're gonna partially assemble it and see what it looks like. So join me for the ride. So now we've established this is a matching numbers car. I wanna go over the aluminum bodywork. And yes, we have the hood and the trunk and the side skirts. We'll fit those to the car and see how they look. So originally, according to the heritage certificate, this car was suede green with a suede green interior. And I was wiping on the firewall actually, and I found an original spot where there's a good sample of the original hue of suede green, and from that, somebody will be able to get an exact match. That's pretty sweet. So if I look closely at this blue paint, it's actually a single stage metallic. You can see how modelly it is, and that's an indication that it was just single stage. And it was probably from a long time ago, because in 1981, it looks like this car was being disassembled for repaint and repair. And one area I'm sure that was on the owner's mind at the time was at the front here. You can see these welds. Any eagle-eyed viewers would have seen a few welds at the front here. And at some point, it suffered some very light damage. I think it probably hit a curb or somebody was pulling on it or something like that. And it caused some damage to the inner fender area here. And this isn't really significant damage. Any competent aluminum body shop would be able to deal with this, but it's definitely not for a beginner or a first-time welder, that's for sure. Just lifted the car up so we can have a look at this damage from underneath. And it looks like the frame has been totally untouched. You can see, look in here, it looks not bent or anything like that. So really just some superficial damage to the very bottom of the, what do I call the valance area. So the rest of the front end I'm pretty happy with. I like the shape of the fenders here. I like the shape of the pods, but there's a little damage down below. I see somebody tried to pull on the aluminum, amateur hour right there. And it looks like maybe it was lightly tapped or the bumper iron was put on and squeezed the bodywork in here. It's not quite right, but all very simple things to correct at the body shop. Now, you see this radius here of this flange that where the hood sits. I think it's sitting, it doesn't really sit very true. It's kind of goes inward. Do you see that? On both sides. I'm not sure if that's original or not, but it kind of looks like it should be more parallel with the bodywork. I think there's lead in here actually. It's quite a complicated form to make this. What can I say? This fender looks pretty good. Again, it's not perfect bodywork. It kind of moves around a bit, but that might be indicative of these early cars. They're really pre-production prototypes. I'm not certain they came with perfect bodywork out of the factory. Just looking, I see some rough filing here. Not sure, probably it's original, but I don't know. You can see where the iconic huge pieces of rubber that support the front windscreen sat right there. That's a true indication this is an alloy car. Now if I move to the door, we get into another real big point of contention with this car and a really important part of this car, and that's the fact that a lot of it was made out of wood. So here we go, look in here. This whole door is made of wood with lightweight aluminum all around it. And it actually looks pretty good. It looks like at some point somebody has got in here with a paintbrush and put some sort of preservative or just white paint on the wood. But it looks pretty good here. In the door, when I try to move it up and down, it's on its hinges, isn't wiggling around. And so we come back here, yeah, look, it's missing the right-hand rear fender, and we're gonna put that on. I don't know why it's off, but it kind of gives a window into what's going on here. We have a shut panel here. It's in wood. See that? It's solid, it's on there, it's not falling off. You can see the frame down here, big frame, and it kicks all the way up and goes down. That's indicative of all the XKs that came after it. And now you can see a little mounting point here. That's for the original aluminum skirts that go and cover the rear wheels. We'll definitely be covering that. And down here in this back corner here, well, I think this is wood in here. We'll definitely have a good look at this once it's up on the hoist. We can have a better look. And I think that this rear shroud actually wraps all around wood. So the whole back section of this car is wood, and we'll try to look at that as best we can. Getting around into the trunk. Looks like it's all made of aluminum, unpainted aluminum. It looks really good. I don't see any signs of accident damage. Isn't that brilliant? I think the fuel tank sits in here. There's a couple fender bolts missing, so we'll try to get stuff like this all in order before it gets shipped out. The fuel filler cap, and it's all missing. The lock and the filler flap, so we'll have to get those on the car. You can see the driver's side here. It's more complete. The rear fender's on. It's looking like a lot of the rest of the car. And we've got another door here. Have a peek inside. Again, it's painted, but it's looking really solid. You can see the bare aluminum here. Isn't that sweet? From 1950. And there's the hinge panel there. And we've got a big steering wheel. And we'll get into the interior once I get all this junk out. But it looks like somebody was doing some inappropriate things. I see leather covered cockpit rail, a stainless steel fascia panel around the gauges, but I think maybe there's some goodness behind there. We'll have a look a little later. But for now, I think I'm gonna focus on the engine. I have the cylinder head over there on the bench. We'll have a look at that. What I wanna do is clean this up, and then we'll have a look. We'll send a bore gauge down here and see what the wear is on this engine and see if it sees. So that'll be the first order of work. That'll be the first thing we'll touch is this engine, and let's see how much mileage this engine might have on it. Now it looks pretty greasy, right? And the odometer lists 15,000, so it's kind of unknown what the original mileage is on this car, but it definitely looks like it's not a low mileage car. It looks like it's probably seen a few miles with the amount of grease and deposits we see here. Now we're up in the air, time to see what this car is hiding. I did have a quick look underneath, and what I saw was a straight and honest car. Pretty impressed, really. Got my trusty lightsaber here, and let's take a tour underneath this Jag. So what do we got here? Typical Jaguar control arm suspension with the torsion bar springing. And the upright here is looking pretty dirty. This car's definitely seen a few miles. On the backing plate, there's kind of a scoop built in. You could kind of take this cover off and you'd have some extra cooling for the brakes. I think that's pretty neat. Kind of maybe for racing, not sure. Yeah, the bushings are all showing their age in this suspension. You see that? They're all cracked and old. Definitely need replacing. Look at this sway bar bushing. And so yeah, now let's get into this inner fender area. Look at this inner fender. It is really, really nice and honest. No drama. Really kind of the shape you want to see. This is really nice. I really like it. We got a horn in here. Here's the steering box. Looking kind of oily. Then we go to the firewall area. And this is where we start to see the wood. You can see the body sitting on wood here. It's a big plank. It looks intact. This fender has a bit of angle iron here, straightening it out. That's not original. We can go over to the passenger side here and have another look. So this side doesn't have angle iron, see? And the firewall again, it's looking nice and honest. Yeah, nice, really good to see that looking all nice and honest. And again, we'll look up and over and see really, really clean original Jaguar lines. How about that? Pretty sweet. Okay, let's move on to the engine. You can see the big aluminum oil pan here, all one casting. The part number on it, C2359. Undamaged. That would shine up really good, but definitely showing a few miles. Look at that oil and grime. Same with the transmission. I think it's seen a few miles. Here's where the exhaust starts. It's looking, I think it's seen better days. It'll need a full replacement. Got some holes back here. Now this contraption hanging down is for the handbrake, and I think it kind of connects in with the seats the way they're bolted in. No big deal. The frame itself looks pretty good. I mean, it's been jacked up a few times, but I'd probably leave it. It's good enough, I think. Got the square body fuel pump. That's kind of typical of cars pre-1964. And the rear axle, now Mike says he has the original rear axle ENV type, but this is a later Salisbury axle for sure. Got the leaf spring suspension, and we got hydraulic dampers on here. Have a look at those dampers. Now the back, this is where I really like about this car. Look how clean it is back here. Definitely no drama back here. No accidents, that's for sure. Look how straight it is. That looks really nice. Looking really nice. So took off the rear wheel so we could kind of have a look inside the fender. And definitely right here, there's definitely somebody's put in some tar. It's kind of ugly. I don't know if they're protecting wood or trying to hide something. I'm not sure. Now there's actually a double wall here to protect the aluminum from rocks. So it's kind of a fender and a fender. And then behind here, you can see the outside fender, and it looks really nice. Again, no issues. See the fasteners here for the side skirts, which come with this car. We'll be fitting those for sure. And then the sills, I gotta talk about the sills. So there is some metal in the sills. This is the body here. And there's a bit of corrosion up in here for sure. And then for whatever reason, our previous owner has completely sealed in this area. So that's a bit of an unknown. I don't know, it has that black tar and it's all sealed in. So I don't know what's hiding there. And there's a similar story to the other side here. See, there's an area here that's been all filled in. I don't know what's going on there. I don't think that's original. But yeah, overall, pretty impressed. Straight and original. I'm liking this car from underneath. Okay, the next thing I want to do is really clean up the top of this engine block here. The deck has a lot of deposits in it. I just want to clean it up a little bit before I turn over the engine and just give everybody a look at what it looks like before you touch this car. See in the water jacket here, yeah, there's a lot of deposits in there. Maybe the right antifreeze wasn't used, and the simple fix for that is to get this whole engine block hot tank dipped and cleaned out. Yeah, I just finished up with these gray abrasive pads. They're really fine. They don't mar the surface at all with steel, which I like. Okay, I'm finished scrubbing this thing. It came up pretty nice, and I'm pretty impressed. The deck looks really nice. The water jacket looked contained, and it looks like it's never been skimmed because I can still see the original stamping. See this G in here, G, there's a G somewhere there and a G here. And that's the fine measurement of the size of the bore of the cylinder. Then from the factory, they would have matched it up with a G-rated piston. So I cleaned up the top of this piston here. It's not the original piston. It says 30 thou over. So at some point, this engine's been rebuilt. Looks like they bored out the liners. You see if you see really closely here, there's a steel liner in here. And so whenever you rebuild these engines, you can either replace the liners or bore the existing liners out a little more. So yeah, looking really good here. It's amazing when you start cleaning things up how much it seems to add life to the project. So the next thing I'm gonna do is rotate the engine. We'll get it free, and then we'll see how much bore wear we have. We'll stick a line bore gauge down there. Okay, just throw a little oil down each cylinder here. Make sure it's not in gear, and let's rotate this engine. Oh, there it goes. Woohoo! It's free. Let's see what cylinder number 6 is like. They're pretty good, eh? Yeah. It's good. Okay, minimal taper wear, isn't that awesome? Now I want to put the cylinder head on, and to do that, I got to cinch together this timing gear. They run along these slots. It's a pretty brilliant design that just gives enough room for the cylinder head to slide over the upper timing gear. And so here it is. This is the original cylinder head that came with the Alloy in 1981, and I haven't done anything to it. It's pretty greasy and slimy, so I'm going to have to clean it all up. And one thing I have to do is verify the cam bearing caps here. They're line bored together with the cylinder head, and there's some in this box here labeled Jelvik, so fingers crossed these are the right cam bearing caps, and there's a lot of parts down in here we'll have a look at as well. So one thing my friend Michael told me is that these early Jaguars, they had an unnumbered cylinder head and smooth cam covers, because the reason why it's smooth is because the later ones, they had a hole here to help hold this area down. And we can see actually this cylinder head's been modified. There's 2 holes been drilled in for a hold down that would go in and probably hold both sides at once. So let's get this cleaned up and see what we got. Okay, got this cylinder head wiped down, cleaned off. You can see what we got here now. Just in the valley here, you can see this stamping, A157, a new plug. So somebody's been working on this thing. I was really happy to find all 8 cam bearing caps though. They're all with it, and I think they're the correct ones because one of the dowels fell out on number 4 and it's a match set. So those are all the caps that go with this head for sure. Now, before they go on, I took the stair straight edge and I measured how straight the head was for warpage, and I found a slight warp. It's high in the center 2 bearings, and my dad verified this, so the cylinder head has a slight warp. It's high in the center. So next, gonna flip it over. We'll see what it looks like on the other side. Here we go, got the cylinder head upside down. We can have a look at the combustion chambers here. Looking pretty good, no drama. Also the water jackets, Usually you can see a lot of corrosion and they start to try to intrude into the combustion chamber, but these all look really good. Move over to the top ones here. Now we've got the part number C2242. That means this is the very first style of XK cylinder head they made, the studless type. There's a weld repair here. So this thing was welded and skimmed and decked. And I got the Starrett straight edge and it actually is perfectly level and straight, unlike the cam bearing journals. So yeah, that's what it looks like underneath. I think we're ready to put this thing on the car. Got a lot of aluminum here on the bench. And here from the Michael Woodward collection is a spare cylinder head complete with intake manifold and carburetors. And this is going to be really great for making our original cylinder head more complete. I'm going to be able to put parts from the spare head onto the original head. And there is some slight differences. This is a studless head, so it doesn't have any studs supporting the cam cover around the timing gear. So it's the smooth cover, see here, with no holes or acorn nuts. But there is some differences. So it has a serial number here, 2228-8, which makes it more of a production cylinder head. The intake manifold also has a heater valve on it, so it came off of a car equipped with a heater. And one other very, very small detail I noticed is that the intake manifold here, it has the part number C2377, whereas on the earlier design here, you can see it looks like they maybe were trying to put a number on there, but it wasn't quite successful. So yeah, I'm gonna put this cylinder head back in the car. I know it has some deficiencies. It has a slight warp and some of the valve guides have worked loose. So it has been overheated at some point, but I think it's important to keep the original head with the car because I think this can be repaired and kept with it in perpetuity. Yeah, I wonder how long it's been since this original cylinder head was back on the block it came with. This will be a neat marriage. Just put down a tin cylinder head gasket and tied the timing gear, and let's reunite these two. Oh, look at that. It's back on there after all this time. Isn't that great? Love it. So just go over to our parts selection here. Now I know this box is going to be a lot of gold because it had the original cam caps in it. So I'll try to reuse as much of this as possible. A lot of the chrome hardware and whatnot. I'll even throw in the old thermostat. And then from the donor head here, we're going to take the carbs. I think this is a match set. You see here it says F2 on this one and F3 on this one. So it's a match set. It's lovely. And it has all the linkage and all the correct hardware. So I'm going to take a lot of what you see here, including the thermostat, housing auto switch, and we'll put it on the other head. Okay, let's put the carbs on. We are. How about that? Look at this cylinder head coming together. I just love these dual SUs with their long neck and the brass damper top here. This is oil reservoir. Yeah, this is a really sweet set, and it's really nice that it comes with the car because it was really, really looking pretty complete, original, the fuel lines, the linkages, the nuts, the lock washers, everything I transferred over. So yeah, it's pretty complete. The only couple things I noted that I still need are the drains over the float bowls. They just take the fuel from here and drop it down. And also the cap for the starting carburetor. This is a later type. I need to find an earlier type for this car if I can. Now, when I put it all together, I noticed a couple things. One is that somebody was really trying to pry off the intake manifold in a crude way and made some marks there on the cylinder head. And it actually, the intake manifold isn't totally mounted against the cylinder head because it's stuck on the studs. So the solution is when this comes apart, definitely take out all the studs for the carburetors, all 8 of them, and then try to work the intake manifold loose, and I think it'll come off. So yeah, I got the camshafts in here, both the camshafts, intake and exhaust. I timed them too, see the notch there, it lines up. So that means if somebody was to turn over this engine, we won't have valves hitting each other, which I really like. And what are these guys doing at Jaguar? Look, this cam cap is upright, this one's upside down, this one's upright. And I can show you how I know that they're supposed to go that way because they're stamped on this side together after they're line bored by the machinists. So yeah, what can I say? On the exhaust side here, I put in some more studs. I spent a long time on studs actually because this ribless cam cover requires really, really tight tolerances on these studs here. It really doesn't like any threads poking through here, otherwise it just will not seat. So I spent a long time, and these 8 studs that hold this ribless cam cover are just perfect right now. I'm loving it. But one thing I did notice putting in the exhaust studs here is that one of them was busted off, so that'll need a repair. And another repair I saw too is if you come back here for the tack drive, which is installed with all the correct nuts and everything, is that there's a bit of material missing out of the cam cover here, and that'll need a slight repair. So yeah, making lots of good progress here. It's looking more like a complete car every hour. Loving it. Okay, long overdue. I got to empty out this interior. I think there's some splash panels in there. Let's have a look. Yeah, that looks like an inner fender front. Third inner fender for the other side. Surface rust. It looks like it's in bare metal. Steel. Inner fender for the passenger side rear fender. That's nice. Aluminum. Looks like it might be the filler neck cover for inside the trunk, I think. It's in aluminum. What is this? This is a door pocket made of aluminum. See the original suede green here? Non-original vinyl on there. Transmission tunnel, painted a really peculiar color. Has some like mastic inside, it's quite heavy. Looks like a steel riveted together, I think. No, it's spot welded in parts. Got seat tracks here. Got all the seat tracks. That's nice. Okay, everything's out. I took the floors in the tunnel out. They were just sitting in there. We'll have a look at those later. But here we got a unique window into this car. You can see the big frame, huge, big, deep, thick frame. The transmission and the bell housing here. Sneak in here, give a good tour. There's dipstick for the original transmission. The gear shifter and handbrake, and the handbrake pivot way down below there. This leads to the square body fuel pump. You can see the line here, it runs through the frame and forward. The sill here, it's made of that big piece of wood we saw in the front inner fender. It seems pretty intact, really intact to be honest. See, it's actually split at a diagonal there, and it attaches to the shut panel, which we've already seen. At the back here, there's a steel body subframe. It looks really good, actually. For instance, just go into this battery box here. There's 2 6-volt batteries that originally came on this car. I only see 1 slate pinhole there, but I bet you if you blasted this, you might find a few more. But looking pretty solid given the age of the car. Usually these things always rust out of the battery boxes. Every British car does that. Now, yeah, here's a steering wheel. It's leather wrapped. Might peel back the leather and see what we really got there. And the dashboard too, I think this is a later design dashboard. We're gonna have to get into that a little later. One thing I found really interesting though is there was a piece of trim here for a shut panel. So this probably was leather covered or vinyl covered for the shut panel. You can see here some of the construction where the steel body subframe meets the wood. Just sneak a peek in there. You can see that wood back all the way back down in there. And one last thing we'll look at are the pedals here. See the linkage there for the clutch going right into the bell housing. And yeah, well, it's a tour of the inside. I guess I'm gonna slowly assemble everything. So we'll go have a look at the floors in the tunnel and we'll install those in the car. Just reassembled the XK floorboards here outside. You can see the plywood floors. I think these are the original. They just show a lot of age, and they have some T-nuts on the other side that look pretty original. See the access panel here. This gets to the jacking point. And the seats, well, I think they have a threaded plate underneath that helps support them. Another thing I'll say is, yeah, it's only 3/8 ply, but it sits on that frame cross member with a felt sandwich. I think that what gives it a lot of support. Trans tunnel, the front trans tunnel is looking pretty good. The rear trans tunnel, not so much. It's definitely rusted down here, so it'll need some light repair, that's for sure. But overall looking good. I'm gonna just put these things back in the car and keep it as original as I can. All right, next up, I want to secure the front bodywork because it isn't attached to the frame or the car. You see if I can move the car back and forth, and this bodywork moves up and down. And that's because it's not attached to this support right here. This is a main support for the front bodywork. And I'll put some big fender washers in behind there to protect the aluminum when this goes back together. Now at the same time, when I connect those support pieces, I have to worry about the inner fenders. You can see them here. They're made of steel. They're looking pretty good actually. And they attach to those support members with these holes here. So this is all gonna go in and add some strength to the car because it's really floppy. You can even see this fender here, it wiggles pretty easily. So just wanna get everything secured down before we go any further. Okay, so we got this front clip more attached to the car. Got some bolts in here, these 5 bolts. Put some beast bolts in there just to make it more authentic, but this really holds the front end of the bodywork to the chassis a lot better. And with those in, I was able to install the fender liners. These steel fender liners, they're 2-part. They're attached together with these 2 BA machine screws with these captive nuts. And they're in love. The passenger side one is in absolutely lovely condition, just needs to be refinished. And it was a little tricky to figure out. There's a brace in here, multi-piece brace that needed to be installed. And I noticed some witness marks that I put back in the fender washers over here. Same story for up here near the headlight. There's some big witness marks for these much larger, more obscure fender washers. So it's nice to get those in. I'm gonna go over to the driver's side here. It needs a little bit more repair. I think when they were taking it out, I guess the machine screw got stuck and they kind of fouled that area right there. Another thing to notice is that the brace that the top part attaches to is actually missing on the driver's side. I'll show you what that looks like. So when this car gets redone, a new brace will have to be fabricated into the aluminum bodywork. So here we go, one last look at the inner fender area before the fender goes on. And I have to worry about how it's fastened in the fasteners. At the very back here, there's a stud poking out on a plate that's attached to the wood. See, this is wood right here. And I'd say this area looks pretty good. If there's one area that's gonna be rotted out, it's for sure this area because the rear wheel moisture and wetness would just come and attack this right away. Not the best design, really. And then there's these captive nuts. They're British Standard Whitworth BSW. And I took a bolt off the other side and saw they were 1/2 inch long. So I cut some up to the right length and we're ready to go. One last look at the inside of the panels. It's kind of a unique insight into how these aluminum cars are fabricated. You can see a double fender system here. The inner one that protects the outer one from rocks and debris hitting the outer panels and damaging them. And both these pieces look to be in really good condition. Look all around here, no major damage. This is about as bad as it gets, really. And yeah, it's a pretty nice system, and it's nice to have these pieces so they can go right back on the car where they belong. Okay, got this rear fender on. The car's looking more complete. What a beautiful shape, just love it. So I admit I could have fitted a little better. It looks like it could go a little more rearward because this gap, it gets pretty tight here. Then if we go to the rear here, it's a little gappy. There's a big pipe that usually goes in here, but could be fit better. I just hastily put it on. I did notice a few details. For instance, right here, the 3 small machine screws, for whatever reason, have ripped out of the bodywork. I'll show you what it should look like on the other side. But luckily, I was able to find the missing wheel spat bracket. That was in with the CAD plating, so we'll be able to mount that. And also, it used these funny, larger 5/16 fender washers. And I saw the witness marks and installed those. So yeah, here we are. Car's bodywork's looking really complete. Just gotta put the hood and the trunk on and we'll have a beautiful shape. And these rear spats, I can't wait to see these rear spats on. All right, just at Mike's, picked up a neat type full of Jaguar XK120 Alloy parts. Got lots of real cool bits here, lots of CAD plating. Found some bolts here which might be helpful. A lot of the hinges and linkage in the back there. And look at this, it's the pass-through radiator, the original radiator. One of only a handful in the world. So yeah, I'm gonna slowly take this back to the shop and we'll see how it fits on the car. Next up, I want to get this absolutely incredible original pass-through radiator installed. It's installed with all these rods because there's actually no fasteners here at the bottom of the radiator at all. It just sits in the saddle and it's kind of snugged down with these rods. So let's get them in the car. Okay, gonna drop the radiator in. I know what everybody's thinking, where's the fan? Well, here it is. It'll come with the car, but it has a later type water pump pulley here for a different fan. So I don't have time right now to change the pulley out of the water pump. So this comes with the car and the radiator's going in. Parts in the trunk, are you? Parts in the trunk. Look at that, the radiator's in and it's pretty tight. Look how close it gets to the fender here. In fact, it's been touching. It may have done that new from the factory, I'm not sure. Also on the other side, it's pretty close here as well. Now this is actually adjustable. This rod here is threaded and it has nuts on either side. So lets the user kind of push the fenders inward or outward and it'll close or tighten this gap for sure. Another thing it'll do is it'll adjust this radius so it can match the hood. So that's a fitment item that definitely is a useful tool to get the body lines all fitting right. Now this radiator, it ain't going anywhere. It's solidly in there. It has these big long J hooks that go down to the chassis. It has these struts here that go down to the chassis as well, and they're triangulated to the firewall. So yeah, really well supported radiator. It's not going anywhere. I put the thermostat housing on too, but the stator tube's fallen out, so that'll need a repair from the instrument guys. Now, since I put the radiator in, I found some other items. I put them on the car right away. That's kind of what I've done with every piece of this car. So there's this bracket here that supports the crank starter. Put that in. Put the catch in for the hood, although it needs a new cable. The cable isn't good enough to pull it open. So put those on the car. Anything I find, I put on. So here we go. We got the cap for the reservoir. I'll just come around here. Found the throttle linkage, so it went back on, looking like original throttle linkage. Still need to find the link on that side. Both the hood hinges are in, which is nice. So yeah, making progress. Oh yeah, alternator bracket too down there. All with the original hardware. Can you see that Bees hardware down in there? Trying to make it as authentic as I can. Here we are, got a fresh delivery of new alloy parts to put on the car. In box number 1 here, what do we got? Got the gear shift lever, that's pretty nice, that's going on. Got the side lights to go on the fenders, that'll finish it off nicely. Oh yeah, very iconic piece of rubber that goes underneath the windshield. Looks like license plate light hardware. Ooh, look at this little mirror. Might be the original one. See if it fits. You got 4 wiper arms and a few blades, so I'll stick some of those on. Next to it's another new box. Here we have the well for the fuel cap and the flap. So those will go on. Look at that, the right color and everything. So we'll put those on. And I still got other pieces lingering from other deliveries. So yeah, I've got the seat tracks and the thread plates that they go into and lots more stuff to put on this car. So yeah, gonna keep going, make this thing as complete as possible. Great. Okay, I got the well installed into the body. You can see the flap just attaches to it. It probably has a thread plate that goes in here that I'm missing. I'm also looking for this button that'll actuate this lever here on the flap. But one other interesting thing is you can see the original green paint. There's not a lot of green left on this car, but it's in certain spots. It's kind of like a treasure hunt. Look at that, the hood bonnet's on, the car's looking more complete, really loving these lines. Now when trial fitting this, I found out with 100% certainty that this isn't the original hood for the car. It actually comes off of an XK120 steel bodied car, and it was probably done a long time ago, And that's the way these things are. There's a lot of history and a lot of time, and for whatever reason, the original hood is long gone. Now, that being said, it fits okay. Like around on the cowl here, it actually has the exact shape. On the fenders, it's not so great. It kind of opens up here and tightens, and it opens up down by the grill, which might be adjustable with the catch, I'm not sure. And this might be the reason why I noticed on this relief here that it was kind of bashed down, maybe to try to make this hood fit a little better. So one real detrimental part about fitting a later production hood to an alloy car is the hinge panel and the hinges. So here I'll show you a picture of the hinges on the alloy car, and they don't match the hinge panel with this hood at all. We'll turn it upside down and have a look, but I'll show you what I mean. And Michael may confirm this. He sent me pictures of one of his hoods, and the hinge panel is completely different. It has these circular cutouts in it. So yeah, that's the story with this hood. Let's flip it upside down and get a better look. All right, got the hood bonnet at the back of the shop here, upside down, so we can get a clear look at what's going on. And yeah, the hinge panel here, it's been definitely modified to fit the alloy, but not in a great way. It's been bashed in here, and there's way too many holes. Now you can see the production hood here, it has this thread plate. Unfortunately, none of these original holes, the 5, match up with the hinges for the alloy at all. So instead, only this one does right here. It's the only one that touches the hinges. So just for a temporary measure, I'm gonna thread this thread plate so it has a hole right here, and we can fit this to the car, but it won't be a permanent fix for sure. And as for the rest of the hood, it's looking pretty good. The shape is pretty true. The only thing I can see is that during the damage, when it kind of got hit down the lower valance area, I think that the catch pulled it a bit, and so there's a bit of waviness here in this inner panel. And it's pulled away too, the welds have pulled away. See that? From the outer structure. But other than that, I think this hood is really nice. There's already a bolt in mine. Huh? There's already a bolt in this thing. Okay, you can see I don't have a whole lot of purchase on this hood, just one bolt, one thread, but it's good enough for now. And I think if somebody wanted to use the original kind of production XK120 hood, maybe change to the later style hinges, because that's much better purchase on there. Look at that, got the hood up in the air, the bonnet, loving that. Next up's the trunk. Here it is from the inside. Like all XKs, it's kind of an ash frame construction with aluminum wrapped around it. Actually, I think the XK150 has steel wrapped around it, which was a terrible idea, but that's another story. So the wood here, it's just so-so. You can see this piece is wiggly. So is this piece, but it's pretty intact. It's probably reusable. There's a bit of rot in this corner as well, so that'll need a bit of replacing. Yeah, so the next challenge I think is gonna be figuring out the hinges and how they mount. So let's go look here in the trunk space. Okay, here's what I have to attach the trunk. Kind of these oversized brass hinges and these L units here. They attach to a cross member, a wooden cross member that runs right across here and supports the shroud. And when I stuck my camera down in there from this side to really have a look, I could see that there was some work done in there. I saw a whole bunch of non-original hardware like these hex machine screws and some metal plates that had been made for the extremity that run the whole way. I know that's not original, so there's definitely signs that there's been work done on the rear shroud and the wood. But in any case, I'm going to install this trunk. Look at that, there's a wooden washer that was spacing it out. Isn't that cute? So we'll get this on the car and see how it fits. All right, look at that. The trunk boot's installed and looking really nice. The gaps are really nice to the shroud, the curve's correct. Although I could have done a little better at the hinges, just lifted it up a little bit, but that's an easy fix. Now, one thing I didn't do was install this latch mechanism. These things are usually riveted and this one's exploded apart. So this comes with the car, but you can actually just buy this unit new for an XK120 and it'll probably go right in. So next up, I want to deal with the interior. Got to put in the wood floors. But first I'm going to put in this battery box. It's the original battery box. You can see it's kind of wood lined here. That's indicative of the early battery boxes. And I also found the battery hold down brackets. So I'm just going to rest this thing in here and then we'll get the wood installed. Look at that, the floors are in those 3-inch plywood floors. And I kind of learned the hard way, this tunnel piece has to be in first. It has some captive nuts, BSF nuts, of course, that hold down the wood. So the wood goes over this tunnel piece. And I put in as much hardware as I could. You can see here these funny Fender washers with the corners kicked over that bite into the wood. And I also installed some of the seat tracks. Now I installed this seat track and it has a thread plate underneath. I'll show you what that looks like. And the handbrake mechanism, I'll show you what that looks like underneath. So that's all nice and tidy. But yeah, getting back to the seat tracks themselves, they're really tired and broken and I'm kind of missing a few pieces. So it'll definitely need 4 new seat tracks, I believe. Also installed these access ports for the jacking points. That one's missing its cover though over there. Transmission tunnel, it went in. All the holes are in the right spot, so I think this is the correct trans tunnel. And yeah, what else? Okay, well I cleared the way for this instrument panel, and there's lots to talk about with this instrument panel. This is kind of an aftermarket stainless piece that's been stuck on here, and it's not the same layout as an early alloy car should be. This switch is different too, and these ignition lights are in a different spot. I'll show you what it should look like at a concourse, and I'll show you what this should look like. But it is neat. We still have the petrol and oil level filter, so I think with the other style headlight switch, which this car is missing, you could actually push it and it would show you how much oil. It would switch from actually gasoline to oil and tell you how much oil's in the sump. That's pretty sweet. And the plaques right there exclaiming that this is an exact replica of the car, which did 120 miles an hour. Also put these cub holes in, the kind of like the box aluminum sections for the doors. So those are nice. They were in with just tack nails, believe it or not. And what else? Well, I'm gonna get onto the hinges so you're gonna find some of the door latch mechanism. But yeah, and, oh yeah, and the battery box, put that in and it's sitting there lovely as well. Next up, gonna put some bling on the car. I got this Grille. There's no way to ascertain if it's the original Grille, but I will say this, it's kind of hard to catch on camera, but there's a bit of a step on each of these Grille pieces. And the later production cars, this step isn't as prominent because I guess the tooling wore out, believe it or not. So this could be an early Grille. I can still see the little step in there. Has a few nicks and dings on it, that's for sure. But I think it's gonna go in pretty well. If I have a look at the hood here, these tabs are pretty worn out, but I think they'll support that Grille, no problem. So we'll get it in there and see what it looks like. Okay, I just put some nuts on there and some washers. Of course, it's BA2, it's specialty hardware, but this Grille fits really nice. Even with just a few of the nuts in there, look at the lineup. Wonderful. Look what we have here. It's the original ENV type rear axle for the Alloy XK120. You can tell it's ENV because it has a dipstick right here that needs a special access panel on the early cars. And what I want to do is just brush off this face here. I think there might be some relevant stamping, so let's have a look. Okay, did some scrubbing there. And I don't know how clear it'll be on this camera. Maybe I'll zoom in. There we go. And if you can see here, so what I'm looking at here is the part number. I see an N0398, so it's a very low number, one of the lowest ever recorded. Then we have another number, JHS55, 14/51. That's the actual ratio of 364. And so it's gonna go and replace this Salisbury that's been put in, and it looks like the car's been running on the Salisbury for an awful long time. So we're gonna have to take this out and drop the springs and take this muffler out and do a quick install. Okay, another great marriage here happening at Owen Automotive. Gonna put the ENV axle back up into number 53 here. Look at that ENV axle's up in the car. Now the owner, Michael Woodward, he came in, he had a look, and he said that this axle actually isn't the original one for the car. Instead, it was just supplied with it and found because it was of the correct type. I just love that dipstick shining down at us, ENV, that's really great. So there's a lot of differences between this ENV axle and the Salisbury axle that came out. The most important was the saddle. You see the saddle up there. And the saddle's way different on the Salisbury axle. It's about 33 millimeters taller, I guess you can call it. And so that means that these E&V axles need a wedge, an aluminum wedge. And I didn't have one, so I just made some up with ash real quick to stage this car and get the U-bolts to work. And so this is good enough for transport and for pictures and show, but not good enough to drive on. And there's a lot of other differences with the E&V rear axle. For instance, the handbrake cable's different, and the anchor point's different on the E&V axle. So the wheel cylinders and shoes, and none of that comes with this car, but I was talking with Stuart at Coventry Auto Components, and he has a lot of those pieces. He is an absolute specialist in these early cars and these early parts. In fact, he has 2 E&V axles in stock right now. So I definitely talked to him about getting the parts and getting these wedges made up. So the next step here are these wheels. These are the wheels that came with the car. They're a 1/2 inch larger than the wheels I think that came on Alloy cars. The Alloy car wheels were only 5 inch, whereas these are 5 1/2. So I took these down to bare metal and painted them with an epoxy primer, just a real thin coat so they can go any color the next owner wants. Then we talked to the great guys at Longstone, and they hooked us up with some Avon turbo speeds that look all the part. So we got 5 new tires and tubes that go with this car on these 4 wheels. So next step is putting these on the car and see how they look. Yeah, I went through all of Mike's hubcaps. He had so many of them, probably 20 of them. And the best 5 will come with this car. There it is. All right, got the last round of parts here delivered in the E-Type. I'll just run over them real quick. I got some of the best hubcaps I could find at Michael's. Headlight hardware. Some original tri-bar headlights. Those are really special with the silver reflector in the back. One that's all apart I'll have to put together. An early style generator. It's dated 52, not the original one, but early type. Some of the extra tools so we can complete the tool roll. And looks like some more bumper hardware here I can pilfer from. Rear lights, distributor. I need a better license plate light, but that's all I got for now. We'll go over here to these boxes, and oh, we were so happy today to find the original front windscreen pillars. They're totally unique to the Alloy. We'll see the differences when I get them on the car. Bit more hardware down there. Bumper brackets and headlight pods, air filters. This is all really important stuff to find. And a misc box, I just know I needed some of those pieces as well. So yeah, gonna be fun. Let's put these on the car. Okay, gonna get the headlights on the car, and I had a lot of stuff from Michael to sort through to figure out what was original to this car. You can see the leftover pile here. And I think these pods are the original headlight pods for the car. And lucky for me, they had some of the original hardware still in there. This is how these pods fasten to the body. And then we got our screws, which we're gonna have to use to fasten our adjusters on. And lucky for me, all these threads are good and they're all BA, and I actually have some hardware for that. So really happy about that. Now it has these retaining rings here, and this all holds in these Lucas 770s. Now these are a real iconic headlight. Really hard to find a beautiful original one like this in behind. New old stock units can go for $1,000 easy. And you can see why the process here is really complicated to restore them. You need to take out the reflector, separate it from the glass, have it re-silvered, put it back together. It's a lot of labor, time, and expertise. So these are pretty impressive lights, really. So what can I say? Yeah, the adjusters are pretty complicated. They have these retainers on the side that slide. I'll show you how that works. And just one spring at the top to adjust. So yeah, let's get these on the car and see what it looks like. Okay, I got the headlight in here. Let's try to pop the ring on. There it is, wonderful. Looking a lot more complete with the headlights and bumpers installed. What do you think? Yeah, great. These bumpers took a while to figure out. There's a lot of specific hardware that attaches them to the body. I'll show you what it looked like on the bench. It's pretty convoluted, but really we have this special nut and this kind of hex washer, I'll call it, and these angled washers, and they have to be bushed out just right, otherwise the body will pinch in or out when it's all installed and tightened down. And that's kind of why I left this one loose. I wanted to show that I didn't cause this bodywork being pushed in. But I think a lot of this hardware is really similar to all the XK120s, so it's pretty easy to find, and I have a full set now installed on this car. Got the headlight in. This is a Lucas 770. I just have it loose, the glass loose in there, and I had to butcher the reflector a little bit, so we'll include another reflector with this car. One thing I'll say is these rings, they're the smaller type ring, and one unique part about this is this thread block. It's totally necessary on these aluminum cars, pretty rare part, and that'll just accept the screw that goes in the bottom here. So I'll try to get that on. And I'm also on the hunt for a Jaguar emblem, so if we can see if we can find one of those. And I gotta install another little spear here. So hopefully find all that stuff before I'm finished. Okay, got the lights and the bumpers on the back of the car here, looking a lot more complete. Loving that. Now the bumper brackets, Michael had a whole assortment of brackets available, and I used these ones because they fit the best. So they come with the car. And it has some pretty unique hardware, these big long cylindrical tubes. They run into the trunk area. I'll show you what that looks like, and attached to the frame and the trunk. Pretty neat system. I also found some pretty cool hardware, all this original old hardware from Michael, so that was nice to finish it off like that. These lights, well, they were just lights that I found in Michael's collection. They seem to fit the body pretty nice. They do the job. And they're on there just loosely as a mock-up, and they show that they come with the car. Now this license plate cover, I think it's original to the car. It looks really nice. It's just held in with 4 wood screws, believe it or not. So next up is the fuel tank. This is a steel fuel tank. It has a large cutout here for the spare tire, and it sits in the trunk. So let's fit this. Let's get it in there. There it is. Sweet. It's time to put it on. Pretty sweet. There it is. Woohoo! It's on. Look at these, got the 3 windscreen pillars. Really happy we found these. They're totally different from the later production cars. These ones use a big rubber block, whereas the production cars, a lot of this rubber block material is taken up by the pillar. A couple other small differences. The hook here to incorporate the soft top was cast in unit, whereas on the later cars it was adjustable and replaceable. Yeah, really happy to have these. I think they're really gonna finish off the car. Now, I don't have the glass, I don't have the little finisher pieces that go around the glass, the U-shaped finisher pieces, but I'm really happy to have one of the main parts of the windscreen here. And then after that, we have a lot of fun, a lot of little bits and pieces to go on the car. We'll put these on and figure out what's what. You never know what you're gonna find, and I was looking in this jar and I found the hold downs for the floors, the wooden floors, with some of the original hardware. Would you believe it? These kind of slotted screws that are BSF, sorry, get that in focus. And these are absolutely correct for the floorboard. So I'm gonna take all these pieces of hardware out, put them in a bag, label them, and they'll go with the car. Okay, gonna find a home for a lot of this stuff, hopefully. And first thing we'll fit are these 2 things. I'll show you where they go. Yeah, they go in the trunk here. There's these little clips that are riveted on. I'm just gonna put 1 rivet in each. I'm not sure what they hold yet. Put them in, then we'll figure out what they hold. Okay, next I'm gonna take this clip here and this clip and this prop rod. I think that's the trunk prop rod. So let's see what that looks like installed. Okay, pretty simple stuff, but I got it installed. You can see it attaches there into the woodwork. Put some wood screws in there. I'm not sure if this clip's correct because there weren't 2 holes in there, but it seems to do the job. Now I am missing a little simple bracket that comes up and out and has a little hole for the prop rod to drop down into. So that's something to find or make. Look at that, I think I found it. There's the original paint. This is the receiver end for the trunk boot prop rod. Let's put it on. Okay, let's try this baby out. Oh, it goes up way high. Sweetness. Loving that. One small victory at a time here. It's a thing of beauty. Kind of makes me jealous of the next owner. I just love this kind of stuff. All right, I'm having lots of fun putting this hardware on the car, but I have to move on, so I'm just gonna bag this stuff up, put it in the trunk. We have a lot of cool stuff here. We have the door catch hardware, and this is what centers the door when it shuts on the shut panel side. Got some escutcheons for the hardware for the side screens, thread blocks for the front headlights, escutcheons for the door handles themselves. I think this is probably a accelerator pedal spring. Yeah, and some more hardware. Not quite sure what these curved brackets are, but they'll go with the car as well. So I'm gonna bag this stuff up. It'll be in the trunk. Oh yeah, and just another note here is I'm gonna put in these clips. These are special Audi clips. These are what hold the wiring harness in the engine bay. So all these will be in the same bag. All right, just doing the final pieces of fit here at Owen Automotive before we tow it back to Michael's barn. And one of the last things I had to get him was this generator. Now, this isn't the original generator for the car. I'll show you a picture of this tag up close. It's from 1952, so it's of the correct type, and this seems like a really nice generator. All the ears are good. This coarse thread is good. And I was able to find all the correct bracketry to mount it to the motor, so I'm happy with that. Just got to find a cover tomorrow when the car's at Michael's, and that'll be complete. I also have to find some exhaust manifolds. He has a pile of exhaust manifolds, and that'll be pretty easy to install. So also I had to install the striker here for the doors. I had to push it out because normally this thing sits over the door. There's actually a panel that goes in here, an upholstered panel. You can see we actually have one of the original pieces here to make a template from. So just had to push that out, that striker on the shut plate, so the door's correctly shut and this car can be towed safely without the doors flailing all around. So I was really looking forward to this job here, the last job at Owen Automotive for this car, and that was populating this absolutely original tool roll that's correct for the car. Now it has tools that aren't really correct for it, so we're gonna swap them around. And here's some of the major pieces, the original jack and Thor hammer, although I don't think this car needs a Thor hammer because it's not a wire wheel car, so that's out. But yeah, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna dig through this box. This is a box of tool hardware that Michael acquired in the 1980s, and it has a lot of the original bits. Just gonna make this thing more complete. And there's a couple more rolls actually at Michael's, so if we need to find a correct set of wrenches, maybe we'll throw those in. We'll show that a little later. So without further ado, I'm gonna start ripping this apart. Now, this piece here, it doesn't go in the tool roll. We know where that goes. Let's go put it in the trunk. Nice. Okay, so that's them all laid out. I'm kind of leaning towards making a set of TWs. The reason being, one of these TWs was originally in this roll. So I'm gonna put together a set of TWs, get some box spanners, some tie irons, some Tommy bars, one of the screwdrivers, and really partially assemble this thing. Then when we get to Michael's, we'll decide whether or not we want to rip apart one of his original sets and put that in this roll. So I'm just gonna snug these things in this roll and get it semi-complete for now. All right, all done. Look at that. Back on its wheels and tires here, back at the barn. Look at the lines. What a splendid, splendid design. I can't get enough of this. So the rest of the day, I have to find some exhaust manifolds. There's a huge pile of exhaust manifolds in the barn back there. Then take some photographs of the car in and around the barn, kind of get that barn find feel. And I'll try my best. It looks like it's kind of a cloudy day today. Sun's poking out here and there. So we'll make the best of what we got. Try to photograph this car in the barn as best we can. Look at the selection here today. 9 manifolds. Holy. All XK manifolds too for the sports cars. And I think I'm going to go with this set at the top. They have a bit of porcelain left on them. The flanges are good. So they get just going to dust them off and fit them to the car. Some of these other ones down here were looking pretty good as well. But I see asbestos in there and I don't want to have to deal with that today. So I'm going to put these top two on the car. 2 at a time. Why not? Come on. Dipstick's in the way. Very lovely. Well, here I am in the barn. Here's the other two cars. And I thought I was done with those exhaust manifolds. But yeah, curious me, had to go up and see in the attic space. And what did I find? A whole box of original parts for this car. I'm really happy I went up there. So what do we got? We got the proper windscreen pieces. They're tinted green. I can't wait to see what that looks like on the car. I found a lot of the interior panels, some alloy shut panels. That's really cool. Not sure if they're made or original to the car. Found these 6.6 MMO plates, so really curious about that. Found the seats and the side screens. Now somebody's been playing games with this stuff just like they did with that stainless instrument panel. And there's some wood on here on these seats that doesn't belong. And these side screens have been heavily modified so they can open, so they're sliding kind of like a Mini. So I'm not too impressed with the seats of the side screens, but finding the rest of that windscreen, wow, isn't that incredible? So I'm going to try my best to get that in here. I'm just out here on my own with limited tools, not in the shop anymore. But hopefully I'll be able to just slide them in. I'm not sure. Might have to take all these pillars out. They're really difficult to get in the way they are. And put it all in as one assembly. Let's see how this goes. I don't know if this is going to work. Let's see how it goes. Oh, there we go. That'll do it. Maybe, but I don't know if I can get the other side in after this. Okay, I think we're getting somewhere here. Go get the other glass. This is gonna work, you know. Wow. Uh-oh. Okay. Wow, look at that. Amazing. Amazing. I love it. Wow. Woohoo! That really completes the car. I am so happy. Okay, look at that. I just love this original windscreen on here. We'll go right the way around. See my Jag there in the back. Yeah, I was really sad to be missing this the whole time. So, I mean, this is just the cherry on top. Look at that. Let's get in close and have a look. Looks like the original unit, all right. I don't know. This says Easy Eye safety plate glass. Okay, so what's next? Actually, I'm going to replace this mirror. This is a hokey little mirror that we found in one of the boxes, and there's original Lucas 103 sitting over there, so let's put that in. There we go. That looks a lot better. This was a new old stock unit that Michael had, and it just looks like the correct period type mirror that would be in this car. Okay, next I want to figure out these seats. Hopefully I can attach the tops to these bottom supports. I'm going to do that inside, and maybe they can go in the car. Well, there it is completed. Look at that. Windscreen seats are in. I can't believe it. Can you? Just goes to show you, little perseverance goes a long way. And there, here we have a much more complete car. Sun's coming in and out here. Just do a once around completely. I think I'm done with this car. I can't believe it. It's been 3 weeks of a lot of work and hunting and fitting. And I think I'm going to go to my final thoughts now. All right, the soft top and the frame were in the attic as well. You can see they were labeled properly, XK120 Alloy by Jelvik. I'm not sure if we're going to try to fit this thing to the car, but it definitely comes with the sail. Very rare piece, very sought after. I know Michael May will be happy to see that this comes with the car, and he'll really want to have a look at this piece. So yeah, another important piece of the puzzle that comes with it. How about that? Brilliant.
Coming around.
Put your iron there. There you go. You go down in here. Look at that. Look at that. Here we go, trial fitting the soft top and frame to the car, and it seems like it's a really good match. Had a look at the one from Team CJ, and they have pictures of their soft top frame all chromed, and this really looks like the very same top. And so really happy to find this out of the attic. And it's a really good thing to find too, because it's different from the later production versions. So it's really nice to have this available. And now all it really needs is a new top made up and clean up the soft top frames, and it's good to go. So yeah, really happy with that find today. Awesome, really completes the car. Just want to be really clear about what comes with the car. So these side screens, they've been modified. They come with the car. License plates, shut panels. I think this is the header strip or something to do with the soft top frame. Some aluminum panels, not sure. And some of the like custom door panels, they'll come with the car as well. I'm going to lay out some more things and we'll go through this. So here's the second set of hardware that all comes with the car. We have the seat tracks. We have the tool for the spats. We have the hood prop rod. I think this is for a later production car, but it comes with it. Of course, the iconic crank hand tool for the motor. That's really special. The fan and the pulley for it on the water pump, those need to be installed. All the mist hardware, we went over this, but it comes with the car. I got some extra floor mounting hardware with the very correct hardware in there, the screws, the BSF screws. Got a whole bag of plated hose clamps, which is sweet. We got the interior trunk light, a wooden wonder. That small little mirror, not sure if that's original to the car, but we'll throw that in. The trunk latch hardware and the two pins which hold it to the body. The hood catch, I didn't put this in because we didn't have a cable, so this will need to be installed, and the hood will actually fit a little better with that installed. Some of these front bumper spacers, just to space it out properly for the mock-up, and then some air filters. Oh yeah, and one piece of wood. I don't know if this belongs with the car, but it was in one of the boxes. So yeah, all this comes with the car as well. So how do we sum up this project, this 3-week project, getting this car back together? Well, first I want to say I'm really thankful to be part of the car's history and share it with you all. But as far as conditions concerned, that's what we really need to talk about. I've learned a lot in the 3 weeks, working on the car, searching the boxes, and putting it together as best I can. And from what I can tell, it really looks like at some point in the car's history, it suffered some front-end damage where it lost its front hood. It kind of buckled in the bottom there where the two fenders meet. And it was welded, and a different hood was put on with some later hinges, and the car was repainted this kind of blue, this bluey green color. And I guess it was driven like that up until some point when some person wanted to take it all apart and totally rebuild it and do a full restoration. And that didn't seem very organized. The car kind of came apart, and all the different parts went in kind of different boxes that included parts from other XK120s. And then one or two of the boxes was CAD plated, and it was really disorganized, kind of disassembly. And that's what I was dealing with and kind of found out when we were putting the car back together. So really, that's why I wanted to do what I did. I talked to a lot of people I know about this car, and they were really concerned about all the missing parts and whether or not they were there. So I think it was really important to get in there and figure out what belongs, what we have, and what's missing. And we also found out a lot of conditions, like for instance, that the cylinder head had warpage issues. We found out that the hood was the wrong hood. And the wood itself, well, yeah, some of it had been replaced, and over near the rear shroud, we saw some metal there that had been put in to strengthen the wood. I'm not sure how original that shroud wood is, actually. So I guess to top it all off, you can buy this car. Yeah, it's for sale with Sothebys. It's going to be part of the biggest online car auction to ever happen. It's their Monterey sale. So if you go to Sothebys website, you click their Monterey sale. This car's in that sale, and you can bid and buy this car over the next week. So definitely go there, have a look, see what our presentation looks like. There's a condition report you can click that goes over everything that we found in this video. And it'll really give a guide to somebody that wants to figure out what this is before they bid. And that was the aim of this video entirely. Okay, well that's it. That does it for this video and my journey with this XK120. What a great 3 weeks this was, and I'm so glad everybody could come along. Really good luck to all the bidders, and whoever ends up with this car, please reach out to us. We'd love to follow it along. We'd love to see where this car goes and the journey it takes people. Okay, see you everybody. Bye-bye.